Do not be afraid, little flock, for the Father is pleased to give you the kingdom. Hi, I'm Andy. I just want to take those words and work through them together. Do not be afraid, little flock. Please don't take those words as a threat. If you're suffering from acute anxiety, the command not to be afraid might make matters worse. Just as telling a clinically depressed person to rejoice in the Lord might well make them more miserable. Well, in the same way, commanding an acutely anxious person not to fear, well, ironically, that's likely to scare them. But there's no threat in Jesus's tone of voice here at all. It's not, thou shalt not fear, you faithless ones. It's, don't worry, God has a gift for you. Because the end of our sentence says that God is pleased to give you the kingdom. So God is definitely king, but this passage shows he's a different kind of king, a less scary kind, the kind of king who serves his servants or employees. Take the weight off your feet, we imagine him saying. You must be exhausted. Can I get you a cup of tea? Clean your boots. Please, I want to make your life easier. I've put out the wheelie bin so you don't have to, and I've cleared up the cat litter. I had no idea Tiddles was so messy. Can I get you anything else? I just love giving you things. I mean, that's a surprising way for a king to speak, even for us. But in the first century Roman Empire, it must have been beyond imagination. Don't be afraid, little flock. God, the good king who loves you and wants to give you good things and serves you, invites you to an upside down kind of kingdom. God is for you now and will one day put the world to rights. And that's a promise, not a threat. It's the lover of our souls saying, hold on, it's okay, I'm coming. Jesus could have said, don't be afraid, little flock, for my Father is pleased to give you the kingdom. But instead he says, your Father. Jesus may be comparing us to sheep, but he doesn't want us to forget that actually we are the much loved children of God, the family of God. And anyway, Jesus doesn't say, do not be afraid, individual follower. He calls us a little flock, and that's us together. Bah! Do not be afraid, little flock, for your Father is pleased to give you the kingdom. So let's think for a moment about anxiety, not as an individual condition, but as a characteristic of a living system like a flock of sheep or a church. If we're in an anxious system, family systems therapists tell us, then three impulses will kick in: fight, flight, or flop. And of course, these impulses are programmed into us. That roar might be a saber-toothed tiger, in which case I need either to defend myself or run away or give up my own principles and just do what the rest of my tribe do. But when a system is anxious all the time, and people are either fighting or emotionally withdrawing or failing to act on their principles, oh my goodness, that's exhausting, isn't it? And anxious, exhausted systems are horrendous places to live. So we are invited to do our part to receive as a gift the good news that God likes us and loves to give us good things, and ultimately the kingdom. The more we believe that truth in our inner being as well as in our brain, the more likely it is that the systems we're part of will be a little bit less anxious. I mean, my guess is that being a completely non-anxious presence feels pretty unachievable right now, but maybe you and I could aspire to be a slightly less anxious presence. It would make a real difference and make it just a bit easier for our little flock to make emotional connections and not compromise what they believe in. At church, that means less anxious preachers, less anxious science people, less anxious PCCs, less anxious coffee, less anxious music, less anxious flowers. And in your home or workplace or college or place of leisure, it means a less anxious sales team or a less anxious grandparent or less anxious students or less anxious club members. Do not be afraid, little flock. Your Father is pleased to give you the kingdom. We don't need to be an anxious system. We are not under threat. The King is among us, mighty to save. You are part of the company of the loved children of God, and you don't have to strive for acceptance because you are already welcomed in. As a diocese, we take this stuff about anxious systems seriously. Here's how Bishop Gully put it in a recent interview, quote, "As the Church of England, we are quite anxious and fearful about our survival and our influence. It concerns me sometimes that we're mirroring the anxiety and fear that is all around us in society. I long for the church to be a place where we can model a different way of being that demonstrates that we trust God for the future and that the future isn't ours to control. The future is in God's hands, and every day we all have to surrender the things that we're worried about and can't control back into God's hands." That's the end of the quote from Bishop Gully. So some of the changes you'll have seen in the diocese, like not dictating targets and not demanding churches follow top-down initiatives, while at the same time being clear and principled on what our values are, or all these things are attempts to dial down the anxiety a bit. I'm not saying all this is easy, but churches really can be the opposite of anxious systems. They can be places of good-humoured, secure, empathetic, principled clarity. Because there's one last thing in this verse. Do not be afraid, little flock. Your Father is pleased to give you the kingdom. Is pleased. The Father is not begrudgingly generous against his better judgment, or secretly itching to smite. He loves to give. This is about the pleasure of the Father. The Father's joy in giving, begetting cheerful givers in turn. He smiles as he distributes. I dream that we will be a church that wants to be generous, giving to the poor, being a church for the poor and of the poor, putting our treasure where our outward-looking values are. Because in these verses, Jesus says that where we put our treasure, that's where our heart will be. And if that's your dream too, there's a clear place to begin. A church that wants to be generous like that needs to start by unclenching its anxious fists and reminding itself that our Father is pleased to give. Our Father is the King who is glad to be generous. It makes our Father happy to be lavish, bountiful, munificent, free-handed, big-hearted. I mean, never mind the prodigal son. We have a prodigal Father, so do not be afraid, little flock.